Salute, fam. Hope everybody good. Straight to the point. I'm having some technical issues out in this motherfucker. But nevertheless, we're going to get right to it. You see the damn water. I see the damn water. All right. Um, Shouts out to the LDBC. You already know how I'm rocking. And salute to all the people that rock with me. Was running, now walking. Um, Getting it in. Getting it in, man, like always. But uh, be sure to hit that like button and sub to the channel if you're not a member. And also hit them notifications as well. I'm going to talk to y'all for a while. And I'm quite sure some of y'all have heard me speak on this a million times. But I think I have to re-emphasize this because a lot of people don't really truly understand. Even some of the close constituents that are cool with me. Brown sugar in the building. Hopefully you stay, boo. Hopefully you stay. If not, I understand. Hope you're doing okay. Now, listen. Everybody always, whenever they think of the power forward position in basketball, they're always bringing up guys that were, you know, skilled on mainly the offensive end and somewhat, you know, when it comes to rebounding, particularly the offensive rebound or athleticism. Um, but they never talk about how those guys were impactful in any other areas. And when you think of Dennis Rodman, okay, I know people get sick to their stomach thinking about some of the antics that he done did, you know, and that's not surprising because they bring up some of the antics that uh Draymond Green has done. Okay, they bring up the antics that Charles Barkley has done. Shit, there's antics that Malone has done. There's antics that, and I'm bringing up power forward. There's antics that the great KG has done. Uh, Kevin McHale. I could go on and on. But no one was more impactful than Dennis Rodman. Okay, and even when some people bring up James Worthy, as much as I like Big Game James, and I like what he brought to the table. As much as I like what he brought to the table, he couldn't compare to Dennis Rodman from an impact standpoint. Like scoring wise, yeah. When we talk about sheer defense, sheer tenacity, I'm not putting no one before Dennis Rodman at all at the power forward position. Hell, I could switch Dennis Rodman to the small forward position, and he'll still be impactful as well. Okay, if you name a power forward, I'm gonna pick you apart. The only thing that you probably gonna have um, in your argument when it comes to talking about Dennis Rodman is the offensive end or how much skill these other guys were. But believe it or not, Dennis Rodman he didn't necessarily want to play offense. He did what he could to stay in the league. And a lot of people got to realize this too. This is what a lot of people got to understand too. He chose to do a job that nobody necessarily wanted to do, and that took a lot of sacrifice. Some of those other guys, they weren't willing to make that sacrifice. Now, Tim Duncan is as great as Tim Duncan was, and he indeed did make sacrifices, especially when we talk about his career and when we talk about how he took less money and stayed and sacrificed and took a back seat and all that stuff. But Duncan, a lot of times, uh, he wasn't as great as a defender as Rodman was, and as good as a defender as Tim Duncan was. Indeed, he was great, and he does have 5 rings to show for it. On the defensive end, he wasn't as impactful as Dennis Rodman was. Now, maybe on the offensive end, and his dominance, he did win MVP and stuff, and that's tremendous. But nobody really looks at defense as a remarkable thing. Sad to say. And when it came to Dennis Rodman, he made defense and rebounding remarkable. People got to realize it wasn't just rebounding; it was defense too, and it goes hand in hand. Everybody just thinks, "Oh, he was just a rebounder." No, he wasn't. He was athletic and he was agile. Something that uh, Tim Duncan was not. Okay. Now, Tim Duncan, of course, he he was agility with his fundamentals and stuff like that. Now, when we talk about raw talent, tenacious, being tenacious and stuff, let's let's just break this down. When it comes to KG for his, and I know some of y'all like Brown Sugar and some of y'all Celtics fans, y'all gonna get in y'all feelings and stuff. That's great, you know. But and like I said, I'm a KG fan, but he ain't fucking with Rodman. He's not. Okay, he's not fucking with Rodman. Now, don't get me wrong, KG was agile. Maybe not in his younger years. KG was agile. He could guard multiple positions. I would say up to about the two. But he still wasn't as agile as Rodman. And KG was able to switch from playing. He played 3 positions at times. Sometimes he was able to play the 5. Sometimes he was able to play the 4. And occasionally, I think people forget that he was able to play the 3. I know. Y'all don't want to have this conversation. That's cool. You know what I'm saying? That's why, I got to select a few people that I fuck with. So you go ahead and click off. That shit don't bother me. We're gonna grind, climb, regardless. And for y'all fake niggas that want to come up in here when we start climbing and stuff like that, look, bury me with my ass face up so y'all can kiss my motherfucking ass. How about that? Because y'all don't really fuck with me like that. Stephen Green, what's up with it? The 93 Bill, the 93 Bulls still beat the 2000 Lakers. The 93 Bulls still beat the 2000 Lakers. I don't think there's no Bulls team that could be beat. The Lakers, they were as great as the Lakers was, and they did three-peat. The reason why they're not fucking with the Bulls is because uh, they had guys that were gonna meet you. Their role players were truly slept on. And I know y'all look at their role players and they're like, man, they didn't have nobody. But they had solid role players. But when we talk about the tandem, the Rodman, uh, when we talk about Scottie Pippen, when you talk about, of course, MJ, who doesn't need to be mentioned, and a lot of people forget that Ron Harper was the nation. Don't forget he was on them teams too, Stephen. He was on a few of them Lakers teams too. Can't forget about Ron Harper. Ron Harper was to transition his game, especially after the injury. Rodman Rodman with Horry. What you mean? Uh, and Robert Horry is another guy who I'm gonna talk about too a little bit later. Like if you take Rodman off of the, I know some people gonna get mad when I say this. They gonna get in their feelings. Take Rodman off the '97 and '98 Bulls. I doubt that they do what they do. I'm just being honest. And you replace Rodman because they didn't have Horace Grant. You put somebody else in there, they're not doing what they did. Especially in '96. Especially in '96. Rodman would check Horace. Rodman would check everybody. Rodman would check everybody. Look, people, for as great as Kobe was, and he was great, and people got to forget that I am a Kobe fan, so I'm able to I'm able to talk about him. For as great as Kobe was, uh, you're not going to shut Kobe down completely, but you can make it difficult for him, and you can make him take inefficient shots, which he has known to, was known to do, and that's what Rodman was able to do. I'm going to take Rodman, and I'm gonna put him on your best offensive player, especially when he's heating up. That's a tactic that Dale Harris did when it came to when they played, like for instance, when they played the Utah Jazz, when Kobe was a rookie. Who you think Kobe was checking? Stephen Green and Brown Sugar, if you're still in there. Uh, Kobe was checking John Stockton. He was checking John Stockton, giving Stockton problems. He was giving Jeff Hornacek, if I'm not mistaken, problems. If I think, yeah, he was giving him problems. You said Bulls don't have an answer for Shaq. Yeah, they do. Rodman would make it. Rodman made life a living hell for Shaq. He got into him psychologically. Yeah, I know y'all keep saying, "Oh, yeah, he would run him to death." That's just like there was an interview with Wilt Chamberlain and with Bill Russell, and they would say, "How would you stop Shaq?" It's easy. Shaq during that time, Shaq wasn't. I mean, he was dominant, but if you find a guy that would run all over the place and stuff like that, that's an easy fix right there because all them guys were in tip top shape. Uh, MJ barely had body fat. Scottie Pippen barely had body fat. And the thing about it, y'all don't mention this about Pippen. Y'all always talk about how Pippen was great and all this other stuff, but Pippen's body began not to hold up. So everybody keeps saying, "Oh yeah, you don't have an answer for Shaq." Hell, you don't have an answer for Kobe. That's who you need to be talking about. Oh, Shaq this, Shaq that. You do have an answer uh, for Shaq. You need to be worried about Kobe. You need to be worried about some of those other role players who could come in the fold at any goddamn time. Hell, you could worry about a Rick Fox. Rick Fox could score a little bit. You know, B. Shaw could score a little bit. You know, some of those guys that are on there, man, you can't just be saying Kobe and Shaq, man. But in the 2000s, Kobe started to come into his own. After that first championship, uh, Kobe, it emerged as Kobe's team. Yes, and I know Shaq did get the MVPs in the finals, but let's not forget who who held it up and who held it down. It was Kobe. So you see, some of y'all don't want to get into this type of skirmish. You know, that's why like I think Sugar was a little bit offended by me saying I got Rodman above KG, who was the Celtics great, and I got him above uh, Kevin McHale, some of these other Boston Celtics players, which they were tremendous and stuff, but they weren't messing with Rodman. And Rodman's impact, think about it like this. When he went to Detroit, he was impactful. 2 championships in a row. Defensive player of the year. Rebounding champion. Rebounding champion in the league multiple seasons straight. I don't, for as great as Shaq was, I don't think Shaq ever led the league. You said Rodman is my book, top 3 defensive ball player. I'm putting him up there. I probably had to put him. I probably had to put him. I don't know. That's really tough because I mean the dude has 5 rings. Now you got other guys that won Defensive Player of the Year, but Rodman did. There's so many other aspects to defense that really don't get looked at. And no, and let's really talk because I mean some of y'all go to the obvious. It's like y'all go to the obvious conversation about defense, but y'all don't get really the science. You said Moses one, Hakeem two. Nah, I can't really put Moses up there. And I like Moses, but he definitely not going before Hakeem. Okay, Hakeem, and I'm not going to put numbers yet. That's something that I have to think about because I do have Hakeem in my starting 5. Rodman and Hakeem are in my starting 5. Rodman, Hakeem, and people forget. I mean, we keep forgetting about Jordan. Like, shout out to my guy, True the King. Uh, Go sub to True the King channel. But I remember we had a discussion talking about Rodman. I mean, not Rodman, Pippen and Jordan in terms of their defense. Who was better? And I chose Jordan. And I know some people they're gonna get mad and stuff like that. Jordan's body could hold up, and we're talking about a young Jordan. When we talk about before the prime Jordan, he was still a raw athletic, could play 94 feet. He came into the league, uh, despite what some people want to say, giving sheer effort on both ends of the floor. They always looked at Jordan as offense, but no, he was a defender too. He was gonna chase you down. Everybody talk about all these chase down blocks that LeBron used to do. Jordan been doing that. And not only was he gonna chase you down, he's gonna get up in front of you and meet you at the rim. He gonna get up in front of you and meet you at the rim and throw that motherfucker somewhere. But I can't put Moses up there, and I like Moses, but he was more in the rebounding. He had a rebounding edge. He was a tenacious rebounder, especially offensive rebounding. He was tenacious. You said Charles Barkley, Carl Jordan, Black Cat, and listen, this is the thing. People, well, why you got Rodman above Charles Barkley? Charles Barkley wasn't no great defender. He wasn't a great defender. He wasn't. He was not a great defender. He was a tremendous rebounder. But I know rebound. People say, "Oh yeah, well rebounding this defense." Yeah, defensively it is. But like I told you, there's still aspects to defense that people don't talk about. Uh, Charles Barkley was not agile. He wasn't agile enough to guard all five positions like Rodman was. Even Karl Malone. I mean, I know he was on all defensive teams and stuff like that, but that's mainly because of his rebounding. He wasn't nowhere near the stratosphere as a defender as Dennis Rodman. You know what I'm saying? And Karl Malone, even though I don't really like him, he was in tremendous shape, but he wasn't in the shape that Dennis Rodman was. Yeah, he he was tremendous on offense, but guess who could stop him? Guess who could psychologically get in his head? Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman would shut Charles Barkley down, make life a living hell for you. That's what I need. That listen, give me that. Make life a living hell for you. The same thing with Ben Wallace. Oh, you want to do that? And see, people don't talk about Ben Wallace could get out there and mix it up on the perimeter occasionally. He didn't mind. He was agile too. But you know the thing about with Ben Wallace, he didn't have as long as a stretch as Dennis Rodman did. Oakley could shut down Barkley. Uh, he probably get in his head, but no, he wasn't gonna shut down Barkley. Barkley was gonna get. That's part of the reason why Oakley would, still got some grudges against Barkley now, as well as some other personal stuff. But nah, only people that I think could give Barkley problems are Dennis Rodman, um, you know, a couple of the Detroit Pistons, uh, you know, um, Kevin McHale. He wasn't going to necessarily stop Barkley, but he would make life difficult. And that leads me into talking about the physicality. Uh, I love the physicality that's going on. Of course, we had to fight with the Detroit Pistons and the Charlotte Hornets. Okay, and then we had to fight with Scottie Pippen Jr. I love this man. I love you said today's games defense are weak. Well, they're trying to make it more physical. That's what we're trying to do. That's why we need to go ahead and get Adam Silver out of being commissioner. You know, I would rather have Joe Dumars as the commissioner. I'm just being honest. A lot of people want Michael Jordan as the NBA commissioner. But like everybody says, and everybody knows it. I thought I was the only one that recognized this, Stephen. Um, you know, they look at Adam Silver, and I know some people they're gonna probably disagree, but just really go back and do your homework. Adam Silver cares about what's trendy. He cares about Adam Silver cares about marketing. he doesn't really truly care about the brand of basketball like that. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't care about you know what some of the people truly need, and a lot of people also there's wants too, and one of the wants that people want is what we saw in the All Star game. If you look at Victor Wembanyama and the way he plays the game, and I'm bringing him into the fold because everybody thinks that Victor Wembanyama is some weak guy or something like that, and he's a scrub and all this stuff. No, he's not. Victor Wembanyama is more physical than some of these other big guys, quote unquote big guys. You said who going to silver place? I'm thinking Michael Jordan. Jordan is a good fit for. Well, we got to see. Michael Jordan might not want to do it. Michael Jordan trying to live, man. Uh, it's not easy being the commissioner, man. It takes a toll on your life. The stuff you got to put up with, man. Because it's not going to be an easy job. It's I don't like to reciprocate what the president of the United States does or anything like that, but to be the head of the NBA, the National Basketball Association, to be ahead of the National Football League, those positions come with a great deal of responsibility. You control a lot of stuff. So Michael Jordan, as great as he was as a basketball player, you saw what he was able to do when he was in the front offices with the teams and stuff like that. He didn't do as good a job as some people had thought. That's why he said, "Okay, let me let's do something else." Now he's successful with the NASCAR, but it sounds good. It sounds good when you mention Michael Jordan. It sounds real good, but would he be able to do it? Would he be able to hold it up? But to get back to what I was originally talking about, I love the physicality that has been going on lately. That's what we need. Like, don't get me wrong, it's okay to be friends, but be friends later. A lot of people don't want to see people trading jerseys. I want to see the disgust, and people gonna be like, oh yeah, well, this ain't the '80s no more. This ain't the '70s no more. This ain't the '90s. We don't have to make it about that, but we want the league to continue being what it was. And I don't want to hear about none of this stuff about, oh yeah, players are gonna get hurt, players are gonna get injured, and all this other stuff. I don't want to hear about none of that. We knew the game that we enjoyed to watch. Okay, at least I did. You could still have the other stuff. You could still have the other stuff in there: athleticism, 3-point shooting, uh, you know, crowd rocking, or crowd pleasing dunks. You know what I'm saying? You could still have that stuff in there, and it's gonna be more believable. Like when you go, like we getting into high school playoff basketball right now. More people are intrigued by the high school game because of the passion that they put into it. Then we starting to get into March Madness is right around the corner. More people are intrigued in the college game because of the effort. You know, like I'm not gonna say it's difficult to explain, but it's difficult if you didn't grow up watching it. And a lot of people they probably feel the same way. The guys that the old timers that are some of them that are still here with us above the surface that maybe grew up in the '60s and the '70s. They probably felt the same way. They felt the same way about the '80s and '90s. Then the people that still here with us that were in the '80s and '90s, they feel the same way about the 2000s and so on and so forth. But we really can't say that though too much because it was still quite physical up until, of course, the latter part of the 2010s. But everybody's like worried about, and it's the same thing with football too. It's the same thing with football. We was having a conversation about that uh, in the barber, and he's a Detroit Pistons fan, and then he was like, he said, "Man, I hate it. I hate what's going on." It's just like even with football, like the reason why I was kind of pushing for the Texans to win was because I love the style that they play, defense first, offense second. Do you think handshake should come back? Yep, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I think handshaking should come back. Um, I think I think that they should allow guys to press more, which is not going to happen because you're running an 82 game season. And guys are not going to run a guys are not going to run a press 82 82 games for 82 games. But I think it should come back. I think zone. A lot of people disagree, but I think they should use the zone more frequently. It's a lot of changes that I feel should be done. Like hand checking doesn't have to be dirty. It don't have to be dirty, man. You know what I'm saying? It could still be done, while being a tenacious defender. But that's what Joe Dumars was trying to do, Stephen. He wanted to bring back hand checking. If you bring back hand checking, a lot of people will see the defense that they truly wanted to see. They'll see the physicality that they truly were were yearning for. You'll see what guys had to go through, like what Jordan had to deal with, what Kobe had to deal with. I'm talking about, if you were a great scorer and stuff, what uh, Larry Bird had to deal with. You know what I'm saying? Some of these great guys, even with Shaq, you said hand check will slow down. You know what? I listen. It might slow it down, but we gotta have some. We gotta have a game on both sides, man. It can't just be like scoring. Scoring after you do it time and time and time again, it begins to be so boring. Less driving to the lane. Yeah, the lanes would be clogged. A lot of people want to bring the big man back. Like Shaq, he continues to be super biased and stuff, saying that the big man can't never make a comeback. Well, if you keep saying shit like that, Shaq, the big man ain't gonna never make a comeback. We trying to do that now. Victor Wembanyama he's trying his best to bring the big man back. Look, it's a different generation. And basketball, to a lot of people's point, is positionless. Okay? But man, we trying to bring back to the basket back. We trying to bring fighting for rebounds back, where it's difficult to get rebounds. It's easy to get a rebound now. Like, I'm not knocking Luka Doncic, but man, come on, man. Luka Doncic is always getting 10 rebounds, man. Do you really think that Luka back in the gap with all those power forwards who were in uh, tip-top shape, like Kevin Willis and, Anthony Mason and Dale Davis and guys like that, you know what I'm saying? Of course, the obvious Dennis Rodman, all them guys. You really think that, Moses Malone and you said Wemby, a big man. Yeah. You really think that Luka Doncic is going to sit up there and get rebounds over P.J. Brown? No. Jamal McGlory? Nah, man. And like I said, I fuck with Luka. Don't get me wrong. Luka be killing. He ain't getting no rebounds over them guys who brought that type of tenacity to the table. So, like I say, man, it's a lot of things, man, that I feel would be beneficial for today's game. And Stephen, you brought up a couple of them, but hand checking is one of those things where it needs to emerge again. Because then these guys that are getting like 30 points and some of these guys that are getting 20 points, let's see how it will impact their scoring averages. Like even Penny Hardaway said that his scoring average would have been boosted had they not had hand check like that. Now look, there have been times when I tried to see the viewpoint of moving your feet. Okay, now let's go back to Dennis Rodman for a second, right? I think KG was even talking about this, him and Paul Pierce, when they was on a podcast. I think there was a conversation about, Dennis Rodman wouldn't be dominant without the use of his hands and all that other stuff. I don't think people realize how athletic Dennis Rodman was. He was quick with his feet too, and he was fast. He was hella fast, man. He was he was already flying up the court. You know what I'm saying? As a power forward. That's why, Stephen, you brought up Shaq. Man, if Shaq was checking Rodman and vice versa, Shaq ain't got no time to be running up and down. He ain't trying to deal with that dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, So, but he would be, what I'm saying is he'll be just as dominant on the defensive end, regardless of what you say, because he has the speed and the athleticism and doesn't really need to use his hands like that. He don't need to use his hands or anything like that, man. He can stop you and he'll be right there. If you try to jump and dunk over him, guess what? He gonna meet you right there at the rim. He could jump and get up with you. You think you're gonna try to get in a foot race with him? Guess what? He gonna catch up with you. Everybody, like I said, everybody just thinks about offense, man. And listen, I don't want to get things misconstrued at all because basketball, at the end of the day, you do got to score. You know, you do got to have offense and everything like that. But there's another aspect to basketball. I know, y'all don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear this mess. This guy, all he talks about is. But y'all don't like to have these type of conversations, though. Y'all don't like to have these type of conversations. People, not everybody wants to see 3-point shooting all the damn time. Now, me, I don't care. Like, that's like, just as much as I like Rodman, just as much as I like Rodman, I like Steph Curry. And there's a lot of people, it's like, damn, make up your mind. When I like Curry, oh, I'm in the wrong. Oh, he shoot too much. When I like Rodman, oh, it's too physical. Make the game boring, all this other stuff. Make up your mind. You say I grew up watching tough NBA game, a lot of fight. Daryl Dawkins, Bill Laimbeer, Hot Rod, Williams, Xavier McDaniels. Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. Those were the days. Those were the days. These guys want. It was competitive, man. And look, basketball is still competitive, man. Don't get me wrong. People still want to win. But I can remember a story. I was reading Slam magazine, and they would do different shit to each other even before the game. Like, I'm talking about, like at the hotels and shit. Like, there was this time when Kobe Bryant had sent Vince Carter something to his room letting him know, I'm finna bust your ass when we play or something like that. And it said from Kobe. Like, they used to do shit like that to each other. That's the type of competitiveness that I like. And it's like with this whole YouTube thing, Steven. Look, if your ass don't want to stay and don't want to support, shit, fuck it, get your ass up out of here. Like everybody not content with being a lone ranger. You know what I'm saying? That's part of the competitiveness. Like Kobe was a lone ranger, and I know you know what this got to do with Rodman and stuff. Rodman was the lone ranger. He he did like, man. Why aren't you focused on getting 25 points instead of 25 rebounds? Are we winning championships? Yes. Am I playing lockdown defense? Yes. Are we winning multiple championships? Yes. Something that Duncan was never able to accomplish. Something that Charles Barkley was never able to accomplish. Great player. Something that Karl Malone was never able to accomplish. Tim Tim Duncan was able to win championship, but he was never able to repeat. And like I said, I don't want to knock Tim Duncan at all. If like sometimes I wonder why Tim Duncan is never mentioned in the GOAT conversation sometimes. You know. Now people gonna bring up the fact that he never repeated. But the man got 5 rings though. The man got 5 rings. And I know some people gonna say it's 4.5 and all this other stuff because of the 99 season, nigga. They still won that shit. And besides, if we're gonna bring up that logic, people gonna constantly bring up that bubble title. So don't give me that 9-9 shit. That 9-9 half a season type stuff. I don't want to hear none of that stuff. They still had to play. They still had to come in there, and you still had to play. Look, if Houston would have won it, guess what? They'd have still been talking. If somebody else would have won it, they'd have still been talking. If Chicago would have won it, they'd have still been talking. They won fair and square. Still had to play. Ewing, no excuses. And I fuck with Patrick Ewing, but he couldn't get it done. Couldn't get it done, man. Could not get it done. But like I said, man, there's not gonna be any power forwards that I'm gonna put above Dennis Rodman. I know it hurts y'all feelings. I know people get mad and irate and stuff like that, but I'm gonna leave you with this question before I go ahead and get up out of here. Which one would you rather have? A guy who is scoring but gassed in the fourth quarter and could barely lock up anybody and the other team wins the game, or a guy who's still in tremendous shape, don't really do all that much scoring, but could rebound and play lockdown defense and also make key defensive plays at the end of the game to keep that motherfucking score at bay where you don't have no chance of winning. Straight to the point. I'm out.